Welcome to PD on the Go, the podcast that delivers bite-sized learning on communication, collaboration, and facilitation for busy teacher leaders. Tune in while you're in the car, making copies, or on your lunch break and get ready to level up your leadership skills. My name is Hallie Case, and I'm an educational specialist with the Office of Professional Learning in Fairfax County Public Schools, and I'm joined today by my teammate, Rebecca Hazelbeck.
Good afternoon.
So some of the work that our team does is we create and present courses for a program called Compass, and Compass courses are leadership development courses, and they often take place during the school day. So since we know that not everyone is always able to attend those in-person sessions, today we are going to bring you some of the highlights from a very popular course that we teach, which is called Managing Conflict. So this course is all about how to lead through conflict within a school and particularly on teams. So Rebecca, tell us about the two big types of conflict that we teach in this course.
Yeah, so really the first thing we teach about is that conflict is just differing perspectives. It's you bringing your perspective to the table, me bringing mine, and us ultimately coming together to make the best decision we possibly can. And so when we think about conflict, there's two types of conflict that exist. And the first is cognitive conflict.
Okay.
And the second is affective conflict. And so when we think about cognitive conflict, that's really just that difference in perspectives. It's when we're coming together about something, it's you sharing, me sharing, everyone else sharing around the table about our perspectives. We want to hear the different voices. And what we know about cognitive conflict is that if it isn't happening on your teams, you want to try and foster it as a teacher leader. You want to try to invite that cognitive conflict because that's how we get better decisions.
And that's the type of conflict that's really more about like a task or a topic, right? Like where if we just aren't seeing something the same way, then that what you're saying is that's a healthy thing.
Yes.
It should, like if a whole group of people agree, then maybe it's too passive. Okay.
Yeah.
So we want cognitive conflict.
We want it. We definitely do. And if we don't have it, we want to foster it as much as we can as a leader around that table. And then the second type is affective conflict. And that's really that dysfunctional type of conflict, the conflict that's really about the relationship and not the task. So it might be you hear somebody share an idea and then the other person sitting around the table says, this is just stupid. This is not how we've ever done it before. Why are we going to do it that way?
Like it attacks the other person.
That's like attacking the other person, right? It's becoming personal.
Yeah.
And as a leader sitting around the table, we have to identify when those types of conflict happen so that we can sort of like smash that right away and support.
And some of that affective conflict might happen behind the scenes, like in those parking lot conversations too. But everyone kind of knows that it's happening, and then it bleeds into the team, whether it's in the meeting or in the lunch, in the break room. And so being aware of it so that you can disrupt it is really important. Yeah. So sometimes when we sense that negative type of conflict happening, there's things that we can do wrong. So in the course we teach about some of the common mistakes that people make when faced with that affective conflict. So what are some of those mistakes?
Some of the mistakes that they make?
Yeah. So like, for example, when I think about like, for me, it might be letting my emotions get in the way. Like if I'm trying to mediate a conflict, I might feel like one person's right or one person's being more rational than another person. And I might, let my emotions take control. Or I might not be clear. Like you need to reach some clarity around what's needed, right?
Yeah, or even like failing to understand the other person's perspective and really listen to their perspective because we're just so set in what it is that we want, I think is another one as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think like there's stumbling blocks because conflict's hard.
Yep.
And in education, it's such a personal profession. Like we're teachers because it's part of our identity. It's who we are as people, right? And so it can get tricky to navigate.
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things we can do as leaders sitting around the table is just to recognize if we're having that cognitive conflict, that conflict about the task, just to recognize that it's shifting to that other type of conflict, that conflict that's the relationship conflict. I think that shift and identifying that is going to be really important so that we can support the team moving forward.
So what would you say then are some top strategies from the course to help people when they notice the shift? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, one of the ones that I like to lean into most frequently is just to balance inquiry with advocacy. So that idea of making sure that I'm staying curious and I'm asking questions when I hear something that I might not agree with. I'm
Yeah.
not just pushing my perspective on you. It's not you share your perspective, I share mine, you share yours, I share mine, and we're just pushing our perspectives back and forth. It's being open to hearing one another and asking each other questions and digging deeper into that other person's thinking.
And, it's interesting you bring that up because a couple weeks ago, Mary Beth and I filmed an entire episode on balancing inquiry and advocacy. And so, like, that's something I think you could do it proactively too, right? Like, as a leader, you could teach your team how to balance inquiry and advocacy. And we shared a tool even, so you could go back, could listen to that episode with a team, provide the tool, and that could help get in front of it. But then inevitably, when affective conflict happens, you could pull that back out and say, hey, we've all agreed to behave this way together, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so that's one, the balancing inquiry and advocacy. I think another one that comes to mind for me, and this sort of goes with the inquiry piece, is to just stay curious a little bit longer, right? Instead of jumping into defensiveness or, presuming negatively about where someone is coming from. You mentioned perspectives and that conflict is just differing perspectives. So as a leader, maybe you guide a team to just stay curious instead of jumping into the attack mode.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Any other ideas for that one?
Yeah, and just like making people feel heard around the table, I think is important too, even if it is something that you don't agree with. Naming it back for them, paraphrasing them, I think is one way that you can stay in that cognitive conflict a little longer.
Yeah. So we have a tool from the course that we're going to share with our listeners today, and it's called the 10 Mantras of Navigating Conflict. And it's just that. It's things you can say to yourself in conflict to help you navigate it. So, for example, one is stay curious. And then what I love about this tool is that it gives sample language of like, here's what it could look like and sound like for you to use this in a moment of conflict. So we're going to share that with you. And the way to access the resources from this episode and all of our podcast episodes is through our Instagram account, which is at FCPS_PD. So check out the link in our bio, and we'll see you next week for more PD on the go.